When you hear the word Hollywood, what do you think of? I bet it's glamour, big dreams, and of course, the magic of the movies. It's this massive symbol of entertainment that's captivated us for over 100 years. But have you ever stopped to wonder how it all began? Let's dive into its incredible origin story.
And
And
this
this
is
is
really the core question, isn't it? Because before all the movie stars and the red carpets, before any of the blockbuster premieres, Hollywood was something completely different. And the journey from that to what we know today is just fascinating. I mean, just look at the sheer difference here. What started out as a sleepy little farming community back in 1887 is now, without a doubt, the epicenter of global entertainment. It's a transformation that's almost hard to believe. And believe me, it didn't happen by accident. So to really understand how this happened, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning, back to a time before a single camera had even started rolling. Our story kicks off not with a director or an actor, but with a real estate developer. Yeah, a guy named H.J. Whitley. And his big vision for Hollywood had absolutely nothing to do with movies. He just wanted to build a nice, pleasant community where people could live and, soak up that amazing California sun. It's kind of wild to think about, right? This quiet farming area, picked out just because the weather was good, had zero idea it was on the verge of becoming maybe the most famous place on the entire planet for storytelling. So as the brand new motion picture industry started taking off in the early 1900s, filmmakers started looking around, and they noticed this sunny spot out west. The weather was perfect, super predictable for shooting outside, and the best part? California had every kind of backdrop you could ever want. You need a desert? It's right there. Mountains? Yep. The ocean? Just a short drive away. It was pretty much a filmmaker's paradise. And that simple, practical decision to start filming in California, well, it started a snowball effect that turned this quiet town into a full-blown industry. It's how the dream factory we know today was really built. And 1910, that was the big turning point. That's the year the very first film studio opened its doors. And right after that, the floodgates opened. Soon you had giants like Universal and Paramount setting up shop. The Hollywood boom was officially on. So the silent film era just exploded. You had stars like Mary Pickford becoming household names, and the absolute comedic genius of Charlie Chaplin basically helped write the language of cinema itself. These were the true pioneers who built Hollywood from the ground up. And here's an amazing piece of trivia for you. In 1923, that world-famous sign goes up, but get this, it had nothing to do with the movies. It was originally an advertisement for a real estate development called Hollywood Land. A sign that was meant to sell houses became a global symbol for entertainment. How cool is that? So the silent era had built a genuine empire, but a massive, massive technological shift was just around the corner, and it was about to change everything and kick off Hollywood's most glamorous and powerful period ever. Yep, the introduction of sound started what we now call the Golden Age. This was a time of just unbelievable glamour, immense power, and some of the most classic films ever made. When the talkies arrived in the 1930s, it was a complete revolution. It changed everything about filmmaking, making movies way more immersive and more popular than anyone thought possible. This is what cemented Hollywood's cultural dominance for decades to come. And I mean, this era gave us some of the most beloved films of all time. We're talking Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz. It also created these legendary stars like Clark Gable and Judy Garland, who became actual Hollywood royalty. Now, during this time, the big studios were king. This studio system, as it was called, controlled the entire process. I mean, everything from signing actors to these ironclad contracts to literally owning the theaters where the movies were shown. It was this incredibly well-oiled machine, and that total control was finally broken up by a landmark Supreme Court ruling in 1948, the famous Paramount Decree. But, even a system that powerful couldn't last forever. The world was changing, and Hollywood knew it had to adapt, or it would risk becoming a relic of the past. The 1960s were a huge turning point. A whole new generation of filmmakers came onto the scene, and they started pushing boundaries with films that were more personal, way more gritty, and a lot more challenging. This new Hollywood movement, with directors like Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, really blew the doors open for all kinds of new voices and different kinds of stories. And that evolution, it's just kept on going. The old studio system has pretty much given way to a world dominated by streaming giants like Netflix and Disney+. We've gone from having to go to a movie theater to being able to watch on-demand content pretty much anywhere. But even as the way we watch changes, Hollywood's influence as a global entertainment powerhouse is still incredibly strong.
So when you just lay it all out like this, the journey is truly mind-blowing. It started as a humble farming community in 1887, then, boom, the first studio in 1910, then the glamour of the Golden Age, the rebellion of New Hollywood, and now the global streaming era. What an incredible story of constant change.
If Hollywood has proven one thing over and over, it's that it knows how to adapt and reinvent itself. So, as we're diving headfirst into an age of streaming wars and the rise of artificial intelligence, the biggest question is still out there. What in the world will the next chapter in this amazing story look like?